Who's a Heretic Child? By spacesapph1c. Chapter 4. Eat Your Young. It's quicker and easier to eat your young. Hosea.
Quick trigger warning of violence, murder, blood, and injury. And then also, we're now in the main timeline of this fic, so Sirius is 23 and Regulus is 19.
Regulus is well aware that he doesn't fit in at Grimmauld Palace. He knows the subtle differences in his appearance set him apart from his family, that his abilities and mannerisms will always suggest that he is something other. But being different has taught him how to mold himself, to blend in and stay hidden. Sirius has always lived up to his namesake, being the brightest in the room and demanding that people pay attention and note his presence. Meanwhile, Regulus learned to slink into the background and stay hidden, to walk through the palace's corridors without echoing footsteps and evade the keen observation of his father and the queen. It's this exact talent which led him here. He'd been sneaking out of the kitchens with a plate of food for himself and Sirius. Father decided Sirius's punishment for talking back during lessons this evening would be another day without food, when whispered voices echoing around the corner forced him to tuck behind a suit of armor lining the hallway. It's just as he manages to get his breathing under control that his father's voice registers above the static in his ears. Don't concern yourself with whether or not I have the means to do so, Riddle. Just assure me of your capabilities. Orion finally steps into Regulus's line of sight. Beside him is an imposing man dressed in Slytherin's naval uniform. The moonlight spilling into the hall exaggerates the man's sharp facial features and the pale pallor of his skin. Apologies, Orion, but you must understand why I'm not particularly inclined to waste my time for a mere fantasy. At this, Father turns to face the other man, and their steps come to an abrupt halt. Regulus can now see the vehement expression on Father's face and subconsciously braces himself. It's rare that someone disagrees with Father, but on the odd occasion it does happen, someone usually winds up dead. You will address me as your Majesty, Admiral, Orion sees. Before Riddle can comment, he continues. And since it's such a concern to you, I'll have you know this is no whim or fantasy. Immortality is within reach. All you need to worry about is bringing me the locket once everything is done, Orion finishes. Apologies, Your Majesty, Riddle draws. But I can't conceptualize how you'll manage to encapture a Fae in this day and age when they're nearly extinct. At this, Orion merely smirks and continues walking, Riddle falling back into step beside him. I already have one. Regulus's stomach drops. And once you've located the cave and brought the locket back to me, I'll be able to perform the ritual. Riddle seems to be in shock from the news, but nods along in agreement nonetheless. Once their steps fully recede and their voices are too far away to reach Regulus's ears, he swiftly makes his way to Sirius's room. A ritual. Even though Regulus has always been careful to hide his Fey heritage as per Father's insistence, he still makes a point to learn everything he can regarding his inhuman ancestry. He's memorized everything in the Black family library regarding Fey lore, history, and superstitions. If his research has taught him anything, it's that a human can find many uses for a captured fairy, and even more with a dead one. Humans used to hunt Fey, yes, due to prejudice, but also for their supernatural qualities. Regulus has read through too many dusty scrolls and tombs detailing all the auxiliaries, spells, and rituals that can be done with Fey blood, tears, or bone, but at the mention of a locket, his thoughts drift to one ritual in particular, one to gift the caster with immortality. There's one distinct myth that comes to mind, legend of the first Horcrux, born from an act of betrayal between a fairy and her human lover. Many accounts say the man in the tale was Salazar Slytherin himself. They say the two were once madly in love, vowing to remain devoted to each other despite the bitter feud between their races. But as time passed, the man grew older, while his fairy lover remained untouched by the years. Doubt began to creep into his heart. out, soon twisted into jealousy and resentment. He longed for the same everlasting youth she possessed. In his de- desperation, he sought out a mage who could help him claim her life force as his own. The mage crafted a locket, a dark artifact designed to absorb her essence and transfer it to the wearer. All Salazar had to do was kill her. From here, the story diverges. Some versions claim he succeeded. He killed his lover, and as her blood spilled over the locket, it absorbed the years she had once held. He lived long enough to carve out a name for himself and eventually founded his own kingdom. Other versions tell a different tale, where the fairy discovered his treachery before it could be carried out. In these accounts, she hid the locket away, ensuring that the greed of humankind would never again threaten the fair children. Regardless, it seemed some part of the legend is based in truth. A father managed to find the resting place of Salazar's locket, and he intends to use Regulus to activate it. Sirius expects the quiet knock at his door in the middle of the night. What he doesn't expect is the state his brother is in when he answers it. He quickly pulls Regulus through the threshold and shuts the door. Before he can ask what happened, his brother starts to rapidly speak in between heaving breaths while pacing in front of him. He's gonna get rid of me, Sirius. Father is gonna get rid of me. I don't know when, but he doesn't need me anymore. Well, he does need me, but I need to be dead. He grabs his brother by the shoulder to hold him still. Reggie, take a breath. Can you breathe with me? Can't. And with that simple word, Regulus proceeds to break down, sliding to the floor and desperately gasping for air. Sirius is used to calming his brother down. When you grow up with batshit parents like theirs, it's second nature. At this moment, though, he's finding the situation might be a bit out of his depth. In most cases, he's aware of the cause behind Reggie's breakdown, but as he holds his brother close, trying to get him to sync his breaths with his own, the incoherent murmurs of lockets, riddles, and rituals give him absolutely zero idea of what the hell is going on. Eventually, Regulus seems to get his bearings and looks up at Sirius with expectant, bleary, red-rimmed eyes, as if asking, "What are we going to do now?" Shit. So, Father's trying to get rid of you with a necklace, and we need to solve a riddle to stop it? He finishes hesitantly. His brother's previous look is replaced with confusion, so at the very least, Sirius thinks they're on the same page now. Likely the wrong page. The wrong book, even. What do you want about? I'm inclined to ask the same question, Reg. So, it's there, crumpled together on Sirius's bedroom floor, that Regulus rehashes what he just overheard, and Sirius comes to the conclusion that they need to leave. Shit, indeed. Sirius knew Orion was off his rocker, a victim to the Black family madness and all that, but committing filicide is a taboo Sirius is surprised his father is willing to commit. Maiming his children is one thing, but for a king to destroy his legacy's insurance to the throne is borderline illogical just on principle. Although he supposes if a king is immortal, there's no need having an heir, let alone a spare, in place to take over. Well, we've always wanted to leave this godforsaken palace. This is just a bit of motivation to speed the process up. You say that as if we've ever had a serious plan to get out of here. We do have a serious plan, though, he tacks on, just because he can. Besides, a little bit of incentive is good for the plan. Essential, even. This isn't a joke, Siri. Course not, Reggie boy. At this, he jumps up from his seated position on the floor, clapping his hands together once before walking off to the corner of his room where a large oak trunk resides. He digs around, searching for a small travel bag. We'll pack tonight. Only bring the essentials and anything you can't bear to part with. Maybe some jewelry along with your coin purse in case funds run low and we need to start pawning things off. Bonus points if you manage to snatch any of mother or father's things to sell off as a final "fuck you" for being insufferable. We'll leave for the docks tomorrow after dinner and pay our way onto a trading ship to get us the hell out of here. That doesn't seem like a very put together plan, Siri. What if we get caught at the port? Or we can't find a ship? What does the palace guard see? Precisely why it's the perfect plan, Reg. Simplicity means there's no room to improvise when things inevitably go wrong, my dear brother. The younger let out an exasperated huff, but both know he trusts Sirius to finally get them out of here, regardless of how questionable his methods may be. Regulus is freaking the fuck out. Why he and Sirius didn't just pack and leave last night is beyond him, but he's regretting not suggesting it before. The day had gone by without a hitch. The brothers managed to discreetly pack away their things and stow their bags away without any suspicion. Sirius even made it through the entirety of dinner without starting a fight with her parents. It was while pacing in front of his bedroom door, travel cloak on and bag in hand, that he realized he should know better than to assume everything will go smoothly. When he answers the quiet knock on his door, instead of seeing his brother packed and ready to go, he comes face to face with Creature, who eyes his travel attire suspiciously with pursed lips. His Majesty awaits you in his study, Your Highness, Creature croaks out, his aged voice coming out hoarse. Regulus knows Creature won't rat him out. Though the old elf is bound to serve his parents, he isn't cruel. Besides, the elf always had a soft spot for the youngest prince. Maybe it's because he recognizes another Fae in the castle. Maybe it's because Regulus is one of the few people here to treat Creature with some decency. Even Sirius can have a slight cruel streak when it comes to the poor elf. Do you know the reason? All his Majesty told Creature was to fetch the young masters and send them to the study. As if summoned, the door across the hall opens, revealing a slightly dishevelled-looking Sirius, dressed in his evening attire. He kicks aside a lump on his floor, which Regulus recognizes as his bag and cloak, before closing it behind him and looking at the other two hallway occupants. He claps his hands once, clasping them together as he rocks back and forth on his heels, before exclaiming, let's get this over with, in a chipper voice. Taking that as his cue, Regulus also set his things aside before falling into step alongside his brother as they apprehensively walked towards the study. Well, Regulus is apprehensive. Sirius strolls down the corridor with his usual confident, carefree gait, as if nothing is suspicious about the sudden summons from their father. They come to a stop at a dark, heavy wood-stained door, which is left slightly ajar, allowing a sliver of lamplight to seep into the dreary hall. Sirius places his hand against the door, briefly hesitating before pushing it open so they can step into the room. For as much as Sirius likes to don a courageous, nonchalant facade, Regulus notices the brief flicker of concern in those grey eyes before following him into the room. Father's study is Regulus's least favourite room in the entire castle. Not only does it have the same eerie, desolate feel as the rest of Grimmauld, but it's the same room Sirius and Regulus are called to whenever their father requires a conversation with them in private, which often ends in injury. Father is seated at his desk, stoic expression and whiskey glass in hand. Taking a seat, Regulus can't help but notice the usually organized room is in complete disarray. Maps of the Black Sea, water-damaged scrolls, documents, and dusty tombs are scattered throughout the desk. Some are even haphazardly tossed onto the floor. Sirius is less subtle about their odd surroundings, pointedly glancing between the mess before them and their father with a raised brow and open judgment in his eyes. I've called you two here to discuss some changes that will be taking place as of tomorrow, their father states in a flat tone. He angles his head to address Sirius. It's time you finally learn some discipline and step into your role as heir. Sirius is already rolling his eyes and sinking lower into his seat, as if the mere implication of taking on the responsibility that comes with this title will make him melt into a puddle. Tomorrow evening, you're anticipated at the northern border to train alongside our army. I've already had a carriage arranged to leave within the next hour, so I expect that you'll be packed and ready to leave before then. Before Sirius can open his mouth to argue, Father turns to Regulus. You will be stepping up in your own right. I need a diplomat in Beaubaton to ease foreign affairs. We will leave together in the morning, and you will remain in the country until this time next year. The last sentence hits Regulus, a slap to the face as a wake-up call. If he hadn't overheard Father's conversation with Riddle, he would have been none the wiser. Father had everything planned out. He knows it'd be impossible to get Regulus away from Sirius without the Elder growing suspicious. He needs Sirius out of the picture, and Regulus oblivious to his intentions behind the impromptu trip out of the castle. You're joking. You're just sending your children off for God knows how long? For shits and giggles. It's duty, Sirius. It's bullshit, Orion. Sirius mocks back in a forced gruff voice. And oh, Sirius has done it now. Watching Father abruptly rise from his seat to reach for Sirius's collar is unfortunately a familiar scene to Regulus. So is the shouting between the two. Even Father coming round the desk to push at his brother is pretty commonplace. But then there's a change. Neither of them are holding back their punches, but Father fights like he's trying to kill Sirius. When he grabs a fistful of Sirius's hair to slam his cranium against the mahogany desk, the crack that reverberates along the walls of the study makes Regulus want to vomit. His brother is sprawled out on the floor, dazed and unresponsive, but it's as if Father hadn't noticed. He continues to kick at Sirius's ribs, all whilst seething out curses, spittle flying in front of him. And Regulus? Regulus is paralyzed in fear. Normally, the brothers have an agreement to remain invisible while Father has fits such as this. It means one of them can be well off enough physically to help patch up the other. This is different, though. This isn't a father disciplining his heir. This is a madman on a warpath. What is he supposed to do? Should he intervene? Try to redirect his attention? Create a distraction? He can't move. Regulus is frantically considering the different outcomes to each course of action when he notices the room has been cloaked in eerie silence. Sirius has managed to raise himself up on his elbows as Father looms over him. A flicker of silver catches Regulus's eye, clutched in Father's fist as clutched in Father's fist is the letter opener that had been sprawled atop the clutter on his desk. Regulus's heart sinks. Father raises the blade. Regulus is running to his brother. There's a sharp, searing pain in his back. Blotchy patches of ink bleed across his vision, and his world tilts sideways for a second. Holy shit, did he just get stabbed? Sirius's head is fucking killing him, and the light in this damn room is so offensively bright he might just jump out of the window to take himself out of his misery. He's pretty sure one of his ribs is cracked too, which is just fucking peachy. All in all, a superb evening with dear old deranged dad. He tries to sit up, only to realize there's an extra weight on top of him. Now that his senses are starting to boot back up to normal, he can also hear his father's ramblings. The old bastard sounds more incoherent and frantic than usual. Regulus is slouched on top of him. His back is wet? Sirius glances down at his brother. His cheeks are lined with tear streaks, and his eyes are winced shut in pain. His gaze wanders further down, and he sees red. Stupid boy ran into it, Orion is muttering. Gone and gotten himself killed too early. He's ruining everything. All the work I've done. All the planning. Sirius tunes him out. Reverently stroking back Reggie's hair. His eyes are still squeezed shut. How did they end up like this? A hand reaches down to clutch at Regulus's shoulder, roughly shaking him. Wake up, boy, Orion spits out. He watches as his little brother is wrestled back and forth as he tries to squirm out of their father's hold. The discarded letter opener lies beside them on the floor, soaked in Reggie's blood. Most people would consider Sirius impulsive, and usually he would agree. However, there's nothing impulsive about the way he reaches for the letter opener. There's no clouded judgment when he envisions driving the blade into Orion's throat. No spontaneity when he actually does it. Sirius doesn't feel regret when the warm spray of Orion's blood hits his skin. This is the man who tormented him and his brother all throughout their childhood, the man who carved scar after scar into his back. Why should he feel sorry? Did he ever feel sorry when he sent them away to bed with hunger pains? When he watched his children hobble out of this very room, nearly unconscious and covered in blood? Sirius stands, pulling Regulus up before making their way for the door. He takes one last glance at the man lying on the floor, glassy grey eyes staring up at the ceiling, blood gurgling in his throat with each shallow breath, limbs sporadically seizing as if jolted with lightning. Orion doesn't deserve his sympathy. The king is dead. Long live the queen. At sunrise, the palace is in complete disarray. A servant had stumbled upon Orion's cold body. His letter opener was driven so far into his throat it had stuck out from the back of his neck. Serves the bastard right. Honestly, Walpurga is disappointed she hadn't had the pleasure of being the one to do it. On top of realizing they had a corpse for a king, it soon became apparent that the heir and the spare were nowhere to be found within the palace grounds. All very tragic. So here she is, sitting in the king's throne, sipping her Earl Grey as the palace guards report their findings to her. No husband, no son, no half-breed. All in all, shaping up to be the perfect morning. Maybe her first act as reigning monarch should be to throw a ball in celebration, something elaborate and decadent. The thought brings a smile to her face. Her musings are promptly cut short by Orion's Navy Admiral storming into the throne room as if he owns the place. Riddle stops before her. No bow. No, pardon me, your majesty. Pretentious, pompous prick. Ever since he'd shown up out of nowhere, because while others conveniently forgot, Walpurga remembers this man is not from within their borders. He's been a major pain in her side. By having the king's ear, he had more say than she ever did, regardless of his title. Your Highness. Walpurga feels her eye twitch. We've sent out search parties to locate the princes. However, at this time, it's possible they've reached the sea and escaped via the port. Walpurga gives a hum. Frankly, she doesn't care if the princes are found. The brats won't last long in the real world anyway. Besides, it's obvious they played a hand in Orion's death, so returning was out of the question. Either way, Walpurga is the only one left to lead. I'd like to apologize for your loss, your Highness. I myself was quite close with the king, and as his friend and admiral, I'll do everything in my power to avenge his death
and find the one responsible for taking the princes hostage. Motherfucker! Hostage? Yes, my queen. It seems the one responsible for the king's death has also taken the princes. I will leave alongside my fleet to search the Black Sea starting tomorrow. Hopefully we can find them soon, and swear in Sirius as king before Slytherin succumbs to instability. He is no king, he is a killer. Until we find them, we must not assume, your highness. There is no doubt in her mind that they were responsible. In fact, if she had spent money, she'd say Sirius was the one to do it. After all, he was her son. Riddle is no fool either. He must have come to the same conclusion. But this narrative works more in his favour. Bring Sirius back. Get Walpurga off the throne. Use the new king as a figurehead while he serves as a puppet ruler. Lord knows Sirius wants nothing to do with the throne. It's not like it'd be hard convincing him to step aside. She allows a practiced smile to spread across her face. Very well. I expect frequent updates, Riddle. As you wish. And with that, Walpurga dismisses everyone from the room. If Riddle thinks she'll just let him steal her place, he's an even bigger dunce than she thought. The last of the guards are filing out of the room when she finalizes a plan. You two, stay behind. Okay, so I'm so sorry about the last minute. My microphone died. So, whoops. But yeah, okay. So that was the end of chapter 4. This is so fun. I wasn't expecting death. That was a surprise. I was like, okay, fun. I was hoping they'd go off and it'd be fine. Never mind. Also, unpopular opinion, I want Wilberger to succeed in this fic. She deserves to succeed. She's not a good mom by any means, but also, I don't blame her. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Tell me what you thought in the comments. And also, so this is what it sounds like without the microphone. I don't think it's better, because it's literally just me talking into the screen. So I'm assuming there's like background noise and stuff like that. But tell me, would you prefer me to use the normal instead of the microphone? Because that'd work better for me, because I don't have to remember to charge the microphone. Anyway, tell me what you guys think. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.